Hello everybody, welcome back to Cooking with Alex. Today we're going to fabricate a chicken, make some chicken broth and some velouté sauce, and put a whole meal together. Here you can see I'm just, taking the chicken out of the bag. We let the chicken out. I did, apparently. So here, I'm just kind of checking everything. I did have a little bit of trouble recording this. My laptop needed an update, so it kept popping up and cutting everything off. But here, I'm patting it down so it's easy to work with, not so slippery. And it just makes handling the chicken so much easier when you can actually kind of grip it with gloves. But anyways, so from here I can see that my computer's doing something weird. I'm just leaving it as it is, but I continue on after a weird cut. I'm just checking to see if the innards were in there, but I got lucky. There were no innards. So just double checking, make sure it's good, kind of cleaning out what I can just to double check, make sure. And I can see right through it and everything's good. So here I'm showing you that the tip of the wing is gone, and we do a little dance. Yeah, but the tip of the wing's gone. I'm just letting you guys know that some chickens don't come in perfect. Just like everything in life, nothing is really perfect. So, again, here I am getting started. So I'm looking for the joint there. I can see the joint, I can feel it. So just take my knife, press it down. It cuts right to that joint area, so perfectly good. And that's the easy part. Especially because I only had one to do, right? So here you can see I'm just again figuring out this is my first time ever fabricating a chicken, which was fun. So we're just gonna cut that little skin there. Sometimes you can break it off at the joint there and it'll just pop right out, but as I pointed out, this drumlet is broken, so it didn't allow me to do that. So again, I'm just going to find the joint. I was a little off there, so you can see I kind of just scoop my knife back a little bit. And bingo, bango, we have a beautiful flat now. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So again, just cut that little piece of the wing. Didn't want to break, didn't want to force it. So again, just take the knife, my boning knife, and we're just going to cut at the joint there. And we have another beautiful flat. So now 2 flats down. And again, it's my first time fabricating chicken, so I'm just trying to feel out where I should go. So I went to the inner thighs. Right there, and all you got to do is pick up and pull back, and you'll feel it kind of slip the joint there, which makes handling it and cutting the back legs off easier. So here I'm just making my cuts. There's, you can see where like the shoulder joint almost is of that. So you want to kind of cut around that, because right there is going to be the oyster. And you just kind of want to drag your knife along the bone there. And you can easily get out the oyster. You can even use your finger if it's thawed enough. But here you can see I'm just kind of taking my time. I don't want to damage the oyster too much, or at all, hopefully. Luckily with this one, you can see here that this oyster actually came out pretty well. I was actually surprised with myself with this cut here. Like, I was just admiring it, feeling around, because there's another joint in here. So we're just going to continue cutting along. I'm looking for that joint that I felt. I can see I'm still feeling for it. So again, we're just going to keep cutting down, just, kind of just cutting away at the skin. And you can see I'm staying close to the bone there until I see and feel where that joint is at. Once I get it out, it's easy to go. Just cut off the attached skin there. And we see we have a beautiful thigh and drum there, and a beautiful oyster. So here I'm going to separate the thigh from the drum. You can see I'm anticipating my computer at this point. So I know when I can cut it. So I'm just feeling for the joint. There's also a white line right there that you can kind of see, and that kind of tells you where to cut. And you can see it just kind of passes through, no problem, easy. And look at that, we got a beautiful oyster and a beautiful thigh. We're just going to go ahead and wrap this up. Make it nice and neat. And I'll trim some of that stuff away for presentation. For the pictures right now, you'll see. Here's our beautiful drum. So this is where I did have a little trouble because I don't know. I'm just, even though it's ambidextrous, it's the same on both sides. It still felt weird for me to cut on this edge, and I did cut into the oyster, and I was like, oh man! But I was able to save it, and you can see I'm gonna cut away at it. But then I'm gonna take my finger and just kind of start. There you go. See, I'm just kind of peeling it away from that bone there. And again, I'm just gonna follow the backbone until I find that joint again, and then we'll just cut it off from there. So now we have a beautiful thigh and drum again. And again, same process, just feel for where the joint's at, cut it. And here again, we have a beautiful oyster and a beautiful thigh. Or drumstick, sorry. Beautiful thigh and a drum. Sorry, I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, it's making me hungry for this meal again. I kind of want to cook it. So we have a beautiful drumstick there. And this meal is actually very delicious. So here, I'm working at the wishbone. I'm going to dab it off so it's easier to work with. Wishbone was fun to try to get out. So you want to cut the top of it there that connect to the breast of the chicken. And you just want to take your knife and kind of like scrape where that wishbone is at so you can expose it. Once you can get your fingers behind it, you know, you can kind of cut towards the bottom a little bit to cut the wishbone away from the meat. So you can see I'm just really taking my time. I don't want to break the wishbone. This is my first time doing it. I'm definitely somewhat of a perfectionist, so I try to make it perfect, or at least try my best the first time around. So the next time it won't be as hard and I know what I'm doing. But again, I'm just trying to work the knife and try to get out that wishbone, seeing where I can cut, seeing my progress, seeing if I can get my fingers to kind of loop behind the wishbone, and right here I get it. So you can see both my fingers go there, and then I just twist. And bingo, bango, Bob's your uncle. There is a beautiful wishbone. So now we got the wishbone out. We're going to work on the chicken breast. I'm just feeling down the front of it. I'm going to make my initial cut so I can feel the kind of cartilage that's right there. And once I make sure that's the cartilage, I kind of just slowly cut it away from the chicken itself. Again, it's my first time, so it's not pretty. It's not perfect, but eventually I'll become pretty good at this, which I plan on. But you can see I'm just slowly cutting the breast away from the chicken. There is the tender in there as well, or the fillet, the chicken fillet. You can see I get it out. And it held nicely, came together beautifully. It cut out just perfectly fine. Nice and easy. As long as you follow pretty much like, you know, the cartilage and the rib cage, you'll have no issues. But here you can see this is where the tender will come out. Sometimes you can just use your fingers, but mine was being a little stubborn here. So I just used my knife. I see I didn't want to break away. But again, there's like a little white line that kind of tells you where to cut. And it's just a real quick snip. And there we go, beautiful tender. You see where we have the drumlet that is broken. So my camera didn't want to focus here, but I did get a light. So I'm just trying to see if there is a way to kind of fix it, but it's a broken bone. There's not. It's not going to heal itself. So I'm just making sure I didn't break anywhere else, but here I'm going to show you a little bit closer. With some good light, you can see that it's broken clean through. It just completely snapped, came like that from the factory. So we'll work around it. So for the drumlet, again, you just kind of make a circle around it. There's also a joint in there. So you'll just make a cut all the way around, and then you'll find that joint and you'll just kind of cut to that joint there. You can see here, I flip it over so I can find that joint, cut it down, and a beautiful drumlet. And then we have our fantastic chicken breasts here. And then we're just going to do the same to the other side. I'm going to dab it so it's easier to handle, because the chicken is thawing out now. So here I worked a little bit faster because now I got the feel for it. I know what I'm doing, and I want to be aware of the danger zone. That's when, you know, bacteria starts to grow and salmonella is possible. We'll also cook it, but you also want to try to keep it as cool as possible in the meantime. But here you got the chicken breast and the drumlet, and here you can see that the tender actually comes out with just using your fingers. You can see I won't even use my knife here. I just break the piece of skin there and just run my fingers along the meat here. I'm not using a whole lot of force, just enough pressure to kind of cut away with my finger. See here, just a little pull and we got it. We got another tender and another chicken breast. Here we are cutting out the drumlet as well. Beautiful. And our chicken breast is ready to go. So now that we have our chicken carcass, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, because during our teachings we learned that the more fat you have on there or skin, it can actually darken your chicken broth. So or make it more cloudy. So here I am just kind of cleaning up the carcass a little bit. And it's coming together just fine. So here you can see it's pretty much cleaned off. Not too bad for my first go around. But it still made a fantastic broth for the velouté sauce, which we will be getting to soon. So here you can see everything. We have our 2 drums, our 2 breast fillets, our chicken tenders, 2 thighs, 2 drumlets and flats, and our 2 chicken breasts. And they all turned out very delicious. So here we're going to start getting our chicken broth ready. So I got some celery, some carrots, and our onion. So our mise en place for the chicken broth, so we can get ready to make our velouté sauce. So here I'm just going to go ahead and peel some carrots. I'm going to cut them kind of big for the chicken broth, so we get a lot of flavor out of them. And they'll be easier to manage when we toss them away later. Here, just cutting off the edges. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my area. And then I'm going, let's see, they're kind of big. They're big pieces, not going to lie. Same with our celery. I'm using 3. We're just going to chop them up there. Pretty big pieces. Again, clean my area. And I'm just going to use some onions. I had some trouble here with the recording, so it's going to cut randomly. But I just kind of broke them apart, threw them in there. And I will post a picture coming up here soon of what it looks like all together inside. At least prep, right? So we have our chicken carcass and our onions, our celery, and our carrots. So next for the chicken broth, we're going to get our cooking net ready. And we're going to use sage, oregano, thyme, some rosemary, some tarragon. And we're just going to take a couple leaves of these, and we're just going to break them up into this. So yeah, just smell your ingredients, you know, see what you want in there. You can kind of smell what your chicken broth is going to taste like. So you want to kind of make sure you have equal amounts, or if you want a little more rosemary, put more rosemary, you know, etc., etc. So I'm also going to add some crushed black kernels, pepper kernels. And I applied quite a bit. Not too much, but you can see how much there is there. But it came out just fine. And now here we're going to wrap it up. And when you go to tie it, make sure you leave enough room to be able to tie it to the handle of your pot so it can reach the water. And it'll be a lot easier to take out once it's done cooking. So here I noticed I didn't leave enough. So I'm going to go ahead and undo it. move it down a little bit and tie it off. And then here's a picture of it tied to my pot with everything ready to go, making the chicken broth. And we're going to let that go for a while. So here is the final product of the chicken broth. The white chicken stock. Sorry, I keep calling it broth, but chicken stock. So now we're going to make some clarified butter. So I'm using 4. You don't need this much. You just need about 2 fluid ounces worth. But I knew I was going to make this again, so I made more than enough, so I didn't have to do it later. But this is just me cutting up the butter so it, boils down faster. And it's easier to manage when it comes to it. Mostly for time. So here you can see it's already starting to go. It was only on there for about 5 minutes. Here you can start seeing the white froth pop up, and that's what you're going to want to get off of the top of it. And you can see here I'm slowly just taking it off and collecting it. And you can see now it's actually starting to turn clear, which is really nice. And that's what you want to look for. In the meantime, while that's doing its thing, I'm going to go ahead and chop up some potatoes. This is going to be for the chicken. So we're going to add the chicken to this right now in a little bit. And make sure you put your chicken in the fridge once you're done cutting it up. Again, just for sanitary purposes and the safety. So you don't want your chicken out this whole time, in a warm environment. And, start to develop bacteria. So you always want to be safe and cautious of the danger zone. So here again, just chopping up some potatoes. Just be careful because you are handling a knife. And I'm just having these. I did 2 bags of those. So here I'm going to do 3 more carrots. Again, I'm going to peel them. And clean up my area. And then I'm going to go ahead and chop these down to a little bit, more bite-sized because this is going to go with the chicken. So having these carrots. And then we're going to throw everything in the oven and let it cook as well. So they're going to get very soft. Everything's going to absorb the flavors. And I'm going to do the same with the celery here. Kind of cut it down to size. And an onion as well. So I'm just going to have an onion. And then where you can see where the onion wants to be cut, those lines there. And there it is. Everything all put together, spread out. So before we add the chicken, I'm going to, so here I take out the chicken from the fridge. I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil, some ground pepper, and I'm going to add some salt. And I'm going to mix that thoroughly so everything's covered, everything's evenly, distributed, the salt, the pepper, the olive oil. Here I'm making room for the chicken now. And I'm covering the chicken up in the vegetables because I really want the vegetables to cook on top of it so the chicken can absorb the flavor and the juices as they kind of come down and fall into the pot as it cooks. And for the chicken and everything else juice to mix together at the bottom. So here, once it's cooked, it's beautiful. It was very yummy. I temped it to about 172. It hit about 175, and then it started to cool down a little bit. But once you can, this is a big process. Everything's kind of together here. You want to strain the butter now in your cheesecloth. So once you strain it, you'll have this beautiful clarified butter. And right here, the chicken's also cooling down. It's kind of still baking, This is about the time it hit about 175 and slowly started to drop from there. But the clarified butter looks amazing. It looks so amazing. I even had to take a picture of it. This is my first time ever doing velouté sauce and clarifying butter as well. So for the mise en place for the velouté sauce, you're going to need 2 cups of chicken broth, 2 fluid ounces of clarified butter, and 2 ounces of flour. And you want to make sure you measure those properly because they got to be even. So make sure when you measure them, you use fluid ounces and then regular ounces for the flour. So here you can see I put the butter and the flour in together, and then I slowly start adding my chicken broth. And you can see here it's turning more to sauce. I then added some pepper to it for seasoning, which turned out very well. Complemented everything perfectly fine. It wasn't too spicy, had the perfect amount of flavor. Here you can see it's not running off the spoon. I have some mushrooms back there. And yeah, that's the meal. And it was very delicious. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And I'll catch you next time. Enjoy.